Hi folks, I'm just here to share with you a dream that I had. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, the Lord has given me visions and dreams and things like that. And one of the visions, or one of the dreams that I had, was when the Lord showed me the heavenly city. The city that sits in heaven, the one that's described in the book of Revelation. I believe it's chapter 21 or chapter 22, or both of them anyway. Anyway, this particular dream, it took place over 3 nights because there was so much information there that I couldn't gather it all in just in one sitting, just in one dream. So the first night, it was kind of like I was flying towards this big sort of this big square kind of thing, because this is what is described in the book of Revelation. And the first night, it took me a while. I was flying towards it. I was flying to one of the doors in there. These long columns, those long stripes. Those are the gates in heaven. And there's 12 gates in all. And each of the walls that are in between the gates are actual stones. They're mountain-sized stones, precious jewels. There's just tons of them. If you look in the book of Revelations, it describes all 12 precious stones. And the walls themselves are made of jasper. And the doors along the gates, they're made out of pearl. And each gate is made out of a single pearl. And I don't know whether it's just one great big giant pearl, which would make 12 in all, and each door is carved out of a single pearl, or whether there's one great big huge mountain-sized, just ginormous pearl that they're all covered, or that they're all carved from, or there could be a mountain of pearl, made of pearl, from which these come from. But anyway, this particular scale, it doesn't give you a good view of how big the city is, because the city from side to side is 1,400 miles long, and it's 1,400 miles high, and it's 1,400 miles deep. So this is actually quite a huge city. If you were going to take this city and put it on North America, then what you would have is it would fit nicely right in the middle of North America. So as you can see, that is one great big huge city, and that's the city that's in heaven, and it's going to be a very large city. So needless to say, when the Lord was showing me this particular dream in the city, it took me a while to get to it. The first night I was flying towards this thing, and it took a while for me to get there. And the second night I went past one of the gates and into some of the city. And then the third night I flew kind of around it in order to get to the center. The center of the city is where the Sea of Glass is. A great big huge, almost ocean-sized lake, or as the Bible calls it, a sea of glass. It's a sea of water that's so still and so pure that it looks like glass. And over top that is the temple. It's kind of a megaphone-shaped kind of temple. And around the lake, around the Sea of Glass, looks like a forest. But if you get closer to it, you'll see that they're not actually trees, that there are millions and billions of pillars of different sizes. And these particular sketches, if you will, these colored pencil sketches, they are nothing compared to what the actual city looks like, because the city itself is transparent. And from the temple is where God and Jesus sits. And from there, their light emanates throughout the entire city. So there's actually no shadows in the city whatsoever, and there's all kinds of structures inside the city. There's all kinds of buildings of various sites, or various heights, and various sites all around the city. Some places within the city itself, if you could look down inside, They are various landscapes inside. They're like parks inside. There are like a downtown quarters inside. There are like a cities inside as well. It's just an enormous, amazing thing to see. And there's room for billions, 10 billions, 100 billion people. There's room for 1 trillion people inside, even more. If you did I did some rough calculations once that even if you had, I think it's 1 trillion people, and you gave them each some room inside, it would still come out to each person would get about a single square mile of space if there was 1 trillion people. And again, those are just, I'm no mathematician. Perhaps somebody else could figure it out, the exact square miles that are in something that's 1,400 miles, 1,400 miles, 1,400 miles, and so on, and a square. And if you could figure out exactly how many square miles are inside, then that would be enough room for that many people. And again, 1 square mile of room for everybody, that's a lot of space to live in. So you could easily fit a whole lot more people in it. You could fill trillions and trillions of people in it if they're in an apartment-sized building somewhere within the city of our Heavenly Father. Because if you can look, you can see that it does fit nicely within the boundaries of North America. So it's actually a very, very large city. And the walls itself, or the gates itself, are enormous things. And the doors are very simple. It's just a basic sort of hinge set inside the wall, and it just swings back and forth, almost like those kind of doors that go back and forth, like in a restaurant. There's 2 doors to each gate, and the gates themselves, they don't exactly touch the bottom of the floor, but there's about a mile of space between what could be called the ground level and the bottom of the doors itself. I've made some other sketches as well, and the ground level of which this sits on the plane of heaven, on the horizontal plane of heaven, there's kind of a rampway that goes up from the ground of heaven to the bottom floor of the city, and it's almost like the entire contents of the city are raised above the ground level. There's a rampway going up, and in some places it's higher than others, but the rampway goes upwards because eventually, at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, remember, God's going to take the heavenly city here and he's going to plunk it face down onto the planet itself. So eventually Earth, after the 1,000 years of peace, is going to have this kind of shape. It's going to be round with this great big city in the middle. And at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, the Bible tells us that we're no longer going to need the sun, because God will have the city on the face of the planet, and God will be providing the light that will make things grow. And there will no longer be any oceans either, because God will also be providing the water nutrients that will make the planet grow. So after the 1,000 years of peace, the earth is going to take on a whole new look. And this planet Earth will become the center of the entire universe, because it doesn't matter where you go in the universe, it doesn't matter what galaxy you're in, Earth will be the brightest star in the center of the universe. And it'll be an amazing sight to see. Once you guys get to see the heavenly city on the plains of heaven, and in some parts of heaven there are places that look like mountains, there's some places that look like deserts, some places that look like forests, and everything that we have on the face of the planet in terms of landscape is just a pale comparison to what it's like in heaven. Someone had written their vision of what they saw in heaven, and I could easily see that being as what it's like. Because when you get to heaven, there's just so much to do there, and there's just so much to see, and it's all pure, and it's all amazing, and it's all astounding and awe-inspiring. That when you get to heaven, you see one thing, and it's just so beautiful, and it's just so new, and it's just something you want to partake in, something that you want to touch. And just as you move towards that one thing, you see something else catches your eye, and that new thing that you just saw is also amazing, and it's also astounding, and you just want to, go next to that new thing that you saw. And just as you move towards it, something else will catch your eye, and that new thing that you just see is also amazing and astounding, and you just want to partake of that. And just as you move to that, there's just so many new things when you get to heaven that are just so astounding and just so awe-inspiring, that it's just a place of never-ending discovery, a place of never-ending awe-inspiring things and places to see, to do, and to be a part of. And the heavenly city is just a part of it. There's so much information that when I was flying towards the city, I just went through one of the gates. I didn't see all 12 of the gates. And I would imagine, like flowers, the whole city has an architectural shape to it, so it's kind of square. But at the same time, it's like the architectural design of a flower. And some flowers, they have an architectural structure to it. They're either 5-sided or 6-sided, but at the same time they have an organic growth to it. So they're not a hard architectural shape like anything else. So there's kind of a fluid biological shape to the heavenly city, even though it's described as being square. It's not exactly square like you see here, but it has kind of an organic squareness to the shape, and it's translucent, it's square, and it's quite an amazing sight to see. Again, there's so much information within the outside of it, as well as being on the inside. It's just an amazing sight to see. And like I like to remind you, it's huge and it's transparent, and it could easily fit on the North American continent. Anyway, I hope some of the drawings that I've made describing the rampways and describing the doors, I hope that they're enough for you to get an image of the stuff that I've seen in the dream that the Lord has shown me about the city. It's quite an amazing sight to look forward to. And when we all get to heaven, you're going to see what it looks like, and it's going to be an amazing sight to see with your own eyes. The human eyes right now cannot take in that much information. It's just like when the Lord showed himself to Moses, and God says that no human can look upon the face of God or they die, because God has just so much information. There's so much there in his omnipresence and his omniscience and his omnipotence that the human eye just couldn't comprehend that much information that there is in the presence of God, that our brains would just literally explode if we actually saw God face to face with our human physical eyes. And it's like that with the city of heaven too. When God showed me in the dream, even though I was using my spiritual eyes, my subconscious eyes, my dream eyes, there's still so much information there that I couldn't gather it all in one sitting. That's why it took 3 nights to get a basic view of the city, the outside of it, going into it, and then flying around it a bit just to see some of the structures and some of the landscapes inside. And because it's 1,400 miles by 1,400 miles by 1,400 miles, there's just so much inside the city that there's no way that I could see the whole thing at once. And even during that other dream that I saw, when I was standing on the balcony of one of the buildings in heaven, that was just one dream. That was a separate dream as well, where I stood on the balcony and everything around me was made of a crystalline gold kind of material, gold so pure that it was transparent. And I was standing on this balcony, a great big huge balcony that was about 100 feet in all directions. And there was no railings, because people aren't afraid of falling, because people, they can travel at the speed of thought, or they can just fly around, they can just float around. People in heaven right now don't have any bodies, they're just souls, so they don't have to worry about gravity, they don't have to worry about falling. So the cities in heaven, the balconies in heaven, they don't have railings. So when I saw the one balcony, I looked across what could be described as a street, and I saw another apartment complex made of all of these balconies, and beside that was another apartment complex made of all these transparent balconies as well. And it was just like looking through a downtown corridor from where I was standing. I could see one set of apartment buildings on one side and another set of apartment buildings right across the roadway from me, and there were all this transparent balconies. And each of the floors were about 15 to 20 feet high, and it was just an amazing sight to see. If I can suggest to you to pray to the Lord to give you a sight of what it's like in the city, because it's an amazing thing to see. It's going to be quite the thing to see when we get there in person. Either when if the Lord calls us home and we die in our physical bodies, our souls will go to heaven and we'll be able to see all these things for ourselves. Or when we get our raptured bodies and we get to heaven, we'll be able to see all these things for ourselves, and it'll be quite an amazing thing. I look forward to seeing them again. So anyway, that's it for now. Be a blessing to someone. Oh, right, and just remember, these drawings that I see, or I've shown you, they're all just a pale example to what heaven is going to really be like. Because remember, the real thing is transparent, so it looks really cool. It looks a lot nicer than anything we could draw or make down here on earth. It's quite an amazing thing to see. So be encouraged, people. We're almost there. The rapture will be here soon, and pretty soon we'll be able to see the actual city in heaven. Okay, be a blessing to someone wherever you are in internet land and YouTube world. Talk to you later. See ya. Bye.